It is a Sunday afternoon, and you are standing in your hallway with the light on, looking at that seam in the drywall you patched last spring. You can see it again, a thin crack right down the middle of the joint, and a little ridge where the patch sits proud of the wall. And when the sun comes through the window late in the day, it throws a shadow you can spot clear from the kitchen. You bought the tub of joint compound. You bought the mesh tape the young fellow at the hardware store pointed you to. You spread it on. You sanded until the dust hung in the air like flour. You painted over the whole thing, and for a few months it looked just fine. Then winter came, and that crack came right back with it. But nobody at that store told you the real story. That crack is not your fault, and it is not the mud's fault either. Stay with me to the end, because the reason it keeps coming back is one specific thing that joint does in its first day of drying, and the old way of beating it will not cost you $1 extra. Only a little patience. I'm David Yoder. I'm 63 years old. I'm old order Amish, and my family has worked the same Lancaster County soil for better than 200 years. Every wall in the Deati house, that is the grandparents' house where Katie and I live now, I taped and finished with my own 2 hands, the same way my Deati, my grandfather, smoothed plaster walls long before drywall came along. We raised 8 children in rooms where you cannot find a seam with a flashlight, and today I'll show you exactly how that is done. Now, folks are often surprised to hear that Amish crews hang and finish drywall for English builders all over Lancaster County, and those crews get hired for one simple reason. The joints do not crack, and the walls come out smooth as glass. There is no machine behind that. There is no special mud, and no tool you cannot buy at any hardware store for a few dollars. The difference is in the order of things, in how thin each coat goes on, and in one piece of knowledge about what joint compound actually does while it dries. Folks fail at this job before the first coat is even dry, and they never know it because the wall looks fine for a season. Then the seasons change, the house breathes, and the shortcut shows itself right down the middle of the wall. The modern answer is to call a finisher, and a good one earns his money. Around here, a contractor will charge a few $100s to tape and finish a single room, and closer to $1,000 for a basement. The other modern answer is a shelf full of quick-fix products. Fast drying this, self-sticking that. Nearly every one of them is built to save you an afternoon today and hand you a crack next winter. The old way takes 3 days. Not 3 days of work, mind you, maybe 2 hours of actual work, spread across 3 days, and most of that time the mud is doing the job for you while you sit on the porch with your coffee. And remember what I told you about that first day of drying. Hold on to that thought, because it is the whole reason the old way works and the fast way fails, and I promise you it is simpler than you think. Now, everything I'm showing you today has its own page in a manual Katie and I put together, called Save $6,000 a Year, the Amish Family Manual. These old methods were never written down anywhere, and somebody ought to. So we did. It is the plain household manual of the ways our families have run a home for 200 years. The heat, the water, the pantry, the garden, the cleaning, and the quiet thrift underneath it all. Written out step by step with the materials and the dollar amounts in the order a real house needs them done. This is not a book about becoming Amish. It is a book about keeping more of what you earn. Right now, it is $17, marked down from $47, and one room you finish yourself instead of hiring out pays for that book several times over, with money left for the coffee. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, let's lay out our tools on the bench, same as I would at home. You need a 6-inch drywall knife. You need a 12-inch drywall knife, or a 10-inch if that is what the store has. You need a metal mud pan that both knives fit inside. You need 1 tub of all-purpose joint compound, the plain green lid kind, nothing fancy. You need a roll of paper drywall tape, you need a large sponge and a bucket of clean water. All of it together runs you somewhere around $25, and it will finish every seam in your house for years. Now notice what I said, paper tape, not the sticky mesh tape. I know the mesh looks easier because it sticks up there by itself, but mesh tape has no strength across the joint unless it is buried in a special hardening compound most folks never buy. And with the regular mud in that tub, mesh is the number one reason patches crack. Paper tape, bedded in wet mud, becomes part of the wall itself. Every Amish crew I know runs paper. My Dayati would not have a roll of mesh on the place. Fancy breaks, simple lasts. Day one starts in the mud pan. Scoop some compound into the pan with a 6-inch knife. Add a small splash of clean water. Work it back and forth with the knife until it is smooth. You want it like thick pancake batter. That is thick pancake batter, not soup, and not stiff mashed potatoes. If it falls off the knife when you turn it sideways, it is too thin. Take your time with this part. There is no rush. Now the first coat, and this is the coat where the whole job is won or lost. Load the 6-inch knife with mud. Spread a coat down the seam about 6 inches wide. 6 inches, the full width of the knife, and don't be shy with it. Cover the whole length of the joint. Now tear a piece of paper tape the length of the seam. Lay the tape right onto that wet mud, centered on the crack. Press it in gently with your fingers, top to bottom. Then take the 6-inch knife, hold it at an angle like you are buttering bread, and pull it down the tape in one slow, firm stroke. Mud will squeeze out the sides. That is exactly what you want. Wipe the knife on the pan and pull down the tape once more, a little firmer. But listen close to this next part, because this is where nearly everybody goes wrong. You are squeezing out the extra, but you must leave a thin, even bed of mud underneath that tape. Every inch of the back of that tape needs mud touching it. If you press so hard the tape goes dry against the bare drywall, that spot will bubble and let go down the road. Firm, not fierce. Wipe up the squeezed out mud along the edges, and then, and this is the hard part for most folks, walk away. Let it dry overnight. Go do something else. My grandsons come check my work with a flashlight and tell me it looks awful at this stage, and I tell them it is supposed to. And while that coat dries tonight, the mud is quietly doing the one thing I told you about at the very start. We are getting close to it now. Day 2. Before you open the pan, take a clean, dry knife and run it flat down the dry joint. You will hear it click over little ridges and crumbs. Scrape them off. One pass, no dust. 10 seconds. Now mix your mud again, same thick pancake batter as before. This time use the 12-inch knife. Spread a coat over the whole taped seam, about 10 to 12 inches wide. Wider than yesterday and thinner than yesterday. You are not hiding the tape in one go. You are making a low, gentle hill so wide the eye cannot find its edges. Press harder on the outside edge of the knife so the mud feathers out to nothing at the sides. If you can still see a shadow of tape through the middle, that is fine. Let it dry overnight again. Day 3, the last coat, and by now you are getting good at this. Scrape the ridges again with a dry knife. Mix the mud one more time, and if anything, a touch thinner. Run the 12-inch knife over the seam one final time, wider still, feathering both edges out until the coat disappears into the wall. This coat is more wiping than spreading, thin as paper. Then let it dry one last night. Now, the part everybody dreads, the sanding, except we are not going to sand, and Katie is the reason why. Her rule on that is simple. The dust never leaves. It gets in the pantry, it gets in the quilts, and she will find it a month later on top of a door frame. So the old way is a sponge. Wring your big sponge out in clean water until it is barely damp, not dripping. Rub the edges of the joint in slow, easy circles. The damp sponge melts those feathered edges back into the wall like butter on a warm pan. No dust, no flour in the air, no mess for your wife to find. And here is an old trick to check your work. Take a flashlight or an oil lamp if your house runs like mine, and hold it flat against the wall so the light rakes sideways across the seam. Raking light shows every ridge and hollow the eye misses head on. If the light shows a flaw, one more wipe with a sponge, and you are done. That wall is ready for paint. And now I owe you the answer I promised at the start, the reason your old patch cracked every winter, and why this one never will. Joint compound out of that tub is nearly half water. From the minute you spread it, the water starts leaving, and as the water leaves, the mud shrinks. That is the one specific thing the joint does on its first day of drying. It shrinks. A thick, heavy coat, the kind you trowel on when you are trying to finish in one afternoon, shrinks hard and deep. It pulls against itself as it dries, it hollows in the middle, and it keeps right on shrinking under your fresh paint for weeks after you thought the job was done. That is crack number one, and you built it in on day one without knowing. Then winter finishes the job. The studs inside your wall are wood, and wood breathes. It takes on moisture all summer and dries out when the furnace runs, and every joint in the house moves a hair with it. A thick, brittle slab of dried mud sitting on top of a moving seam has only one choice, and it takes it. It snaps right down the middle, usually in January, but 3 thin coats do their shrinking one small layer at a time, each one finished before the next goes on, so by painting day the shrinking is already over. And that paper tape, bedded in its thin coat of mud, is the backbone of the whole seam. When the studs move, the tape holds both sides together, and the wall moves as one piece instead of two. That is the whole secret. It was never the mud. It was the shrink and the seasons, and the old way simply refuses to fight either one. It waits out the first, and it bends with the second, and that is a repair that stays repaired, and a few $100s of finishing work that stays in your pocket. This year, and every year the house stands, there is a whole manual of savings just like it. Save $6,000 a year. The Amish Family Manual by Katie and me, written out plain, step by step, with the materials and the dollar amounts. $17, down from $47, and it earns that back the first time you do not pick up the phone to hire something out. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So there it is. 3 thin coats, paper tape in a wet bed, a damp sponge instead of sandpaper, and 3 days of patience that beat one afternoon of hurry every single time. Tell me in the comments, did your father or your grandfather have his own way of finishing a wall, plaster or drywall or anything else? I'd surely like to hear it, because those are exactly the things that get lost when nobody writes them down. I read every single one. Next time, I'm going to show you how we patch a full hole in drywall with no patch kit at all, just a scrap of board and a piece of string, the way my cousins out in Ohio showed me, and the string is the part that will make you smile. That's how we've always done it, friends. Live plain, live well, and God bless you now.